you know what?
Yeah.
I want to go to your AGI soon post, but first,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if you heard about that whole Devin AI that got launched recently. I
I
want to
was
just
watching it last night and fell asleep. Yes.
okay, sweet. Let's go into that for a second. People have been pinging me about it. So
Yeah.
today we're excited to introduce Devin, the first AI software engineer. Devin is a new state of the art on the SWE bench coding benchmark, has successfully passed practical engineering interviews from leading AI companies, and has even completed real jobs on Upwork. Oh boy. Devin is an autonomous agent that solves engineering tasks through the use of its own shell, code editor, and web browser. When evaluated on SWE benchmark, which asks an AI to resolve GitHub issues found in real world open source projects, Devin correctly resolved 13.86 of the issues unassisted, far exceeding the previous state of the art model performance of 2% unassisted and 5% assisted. Check out what Devin can do in the thread below. Now, when this tweet came out yesterday, it had like 1,000 views. Now it's up to 23 million. So let's play this real quick.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, I'm Scott from Cognition AI, and today I'm really excited to introduce you to Devin, the first AI software engineer. Let me show you an example of Devin in action. I'm going to ask Devin to benchmark the performance of Llama on a couple different API providers. From now on, Devin is in the driver's seat. First, Devin makes a step-by-step plan of how to tackle the problem. After that, it builds the whole project using all the same tools that a human software engineer would use. Devin has its own command line, its own code editor, and even its own browser. In this case, Devin decides to use the browser to pull up API documentation so that it can read up and learn how to plug into each of these APIs. Here, Devin runs into an unexpected error. Devin actually decides to add a debugging print statement. Reruns the code with the debugging print statement, and then uses the error in the logs to figure out how to fix the bug. Finally, Devin decides to build and deploy a website with full styling as the visualization. You can see the website here. All of this is possible today because of the advancements that we've made in both reasoning and long-term planning. It's a really hard problem, and we've only just started, but we're super excited about the progress that we've made so far. In the meantime, if you'd like to try out Devin on your own real-world tasks, send us a request below, and we'd be happy to forward it to Devin.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I was actually impressed. I mean, it's only 13%, but it's 3 times better than the previous. We're on this part of the up curve. And I guess the key thing is you might as well pass the problem to Devin first, just to see, just to be like, well, did he do something? And it's zero cost, essentially. So as a first pass quick responder, I think it's great.
Yeah, especially if you're planning to do code reviews anyway. And you could flip it too, right? If you're making the changes yourself, you could work sort of hand in hand with a thing like Devin, having it do parts or check parts or review what you're doing, give its thoughts. It seems like you can mix both the autonomous mode and the GitHub Microsoft Copilot style. And both are valuable to your point. You know, if Devin can handle some of your simple tasks 100%, fantastic.
Yeah.
If it gets stuck on, some other fraction and needs a little bit of a nudge, well, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
And if there's some stuff that's way too hard for it, okay, we leave that to the people. And I'm assuming this thing keeps getting better nonstop.
Yeah. What I was going to mention there is I could see where certain enterprise solutions, they're going to be wanting to record people's corrections of Devin to train like a tailored model for their own enterprise applications, because there's like certain code-based requirements and stuff. I could see people wanting to pull something that powerful into their own umbrella.
Interesting. I was also curious that a lot of the founders in this company or the early employees were coming out of coding competitions.
Oh, know.
And it's interesting. It's like maybe they're good at introspecting about their own process when they're making changes to a code base or looking for a bug. And I also noticed that if you watch the various videos they posted, there's like 6 or 7 of them. In several of them, when Devin runs into a problem, its strategy is to add print statements to the code and run it again in order to figure out what's going wrong. And then when it figures it out, it goes back and it deletes the print statements, which I thought was fascinating. I'm like, did someone purposefully like teach it this technique as a way to eliminate a category of bugs? And if so, I'm guessing they're probably working on techniques for eliminating other kinds of bugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I'm super curious to see how they, what they're, like you said, they're only at 13 or 14% now. They got plenty of headroom to go.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see what techniques it picks up and what chunks of the remaining, I don't know, 90 or 80, 85% it picks off with each technique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the early wins.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. Also, I give them a sweep the leg because they went to Upwork and they probably messaged people like, "Oh yeah, I can help you with your coding problem," and they switched on Devin,
Yep.
and it solved it. It was great. And there's right now there's like a ongoing like there's the AI accelerationist people who are like, engineering jobs are all gone tomorrow. It's dead. And then doomers are like, oh, this is going to destroy society because they're going to like create viruses. And then I look at it more of like, there's people like myself who go to Fiverr Upwork for like base level, like script kiddie, like help me build an app script that links Gmail to a spreadsheet. And now Devin or LLMs can do that. But if you put Devin inside of Salesforce or Google and say, look at this million line code stack and like fix this, Devin's going to self-destruct. So
Yeah.
I like what Joe was saying about like give it to Devin first, have a gentleman's crack at it. And it might get most of it wrong, but it's done 50% of the work for you. And then now you're in editing mode, which is much easier. Or maybe it can do certain types of code that's repeated functions you're calling over and over again. It can take care of that. Just like what me and Joe saw in the video this week where writers love GPTs for novel creation because the GPT can just write a first draft of a novel for 1,000 words, and then the writer goes into editing mode, and it's much easier to be an editor compared to solving the blank page problem. So awesome. I think it's super duper cool. I wanted to do one more video because I love robotics. I just think it's so cool, the advances we're seeing in robotics. And this is a video about Figure AI, or OpenAI with Figure. Let's see if this thing loads.
Yes.
There we go. Sweet.
What do you see right? On the center of the near people.
Great. Can I have something to eat?
Sure thing.
Great. Can you explain why you did what you just did while you pick up this trash?
On it. So I gave you the apple because it's the only edible item I could provide you with from the table.
Great. So, dishes in front of you go next.
The dishes that are likely to go into the drying rack next.
Great. Can you put them there?
Of course.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Figure one.
You're welcome. If there's anything else you need help with, just let me know.
Our AI researchers just came out with these two new models that allow AI to write like long form stories for you and like novels, and you can interact with it. So me and Joe did a research review on this. You can actually go over to patreon.com/sick and get a free preview of it. Check it out. See if you like the video or not. If you do like the video, then consider for $5 a month supporting us. We have created teen exclusive episodes with all types of great, fantastic stuff. You should join. We also have this handy dandy reading list. We have 176 research papers on this thing. This thing's a complete animal. And we also summarize the papers for you so you actually know what you're getting into and you don't have to read the whole entire thing or not. So it's a really great resource. So anyways, patreon.com/fic. Get access to our best episodes and then also get access to our reading list. And also these episodes are ad-free. So check them out. Talk to you later. Bye. I thought that was pretty cool. It was very sterile though. It kind of it kind of looked a little bit like scary movie to a degree. Like they could have made it a little more human. Like maybe like put a smiley face on it, change the voice to make it something nice and cute. What do you two think about that video?
I mean, it's excellent to see the integration of all the modalities and getting into the physical landscape. There is always going to be the sim to real gap. So I think there's always going to be that lag, that cusp, getting real transition skill sets. But it's getting to the point where you could see this being a helper bot in like a nursing home. You know, certain tasks might become the market viability is going to hit a threshold point where below that threshold, you're not going to see a lot. But then after the threshold, you're going to see value chains that people want to latch onto. I don't know if we're quite there yet, but we're getting really close. So.
Interesting. So you think it's a matter of economics before these things become viable and people start buying them?
And it's mostly about, the percentage error has to drop below a certain level before it's going to be worthwhile. Because if you have to clean up its mess repeatedly, that's when people are like, no, I don't want to.
Yep. More trouble than it's worth in that case.
Exactly. Yeah. The pain points.
Yeah. I'm also curious. I'm guessing in the early days, people will have to adopt a certain artificial interaction to get the systems to do what they want. I mean, even in that demo, I'm curious if the hand on the table is the safety switch for that thing to even take any action. Because he was careful to keep his hand there during the interaction. And the system went completely quiescent the moment he lifted his hand from the table.
Killed the last guy.
It might
Pulled
have
out a
swatted
machete
someone.
and killed the guy.
I'm also really curious about that because we keep making these robots out of lighter and lighter parts, but we're still sort of in the aluminum, magnesium kind of regime. It seems like the ultimate safeguard is just to make the robot out of something light enough and flimsy enough that if it does bump into somebody, it's not a problem.
It has a non-catastrophic failure mode.
Yes. And worst case, the robot is damaged, not the person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, mass-produced from a weak material that can't hurt humans. Like that kid who was playing chess against that robot. And the robot didn't get pissed, but the kid moved too quickly, and the robot went and grabbed its finger and hurt the kid.
Oh, jeez.
Kid was okay, like a little sprain or something. But my joking self was like, the robot got pissed for the kid's move because he put him in check. Into the robot was like, "I'll get you, little bastard! Grab your finger." So let's go.
Did the Figure AI guys release any information about availability or cost yet?
Ooh, I haven't heard anything about that. That's a really good point. Like, can this thing eventually get mass produced to the point where it's like flexible enough? I know Elon mentioned for his like Optimus, and of course Elon predictions like with anyone else are flawed, but he mentioned like $100,000 a bot. So it'll be interesting to see what Figure goes for their price point, because it'll probably start off just like Tesla went with the Roadster, like enthusiast nerds who just want a bot in their house, and then eventually there's going to be that Model 3 moment for the robot where it's like almost everyone can get one inside. Anthony, your use case regarding seniors, I think, is a huge one, because there's a lot of people, if you ask them, would you like to get old in place at your house, or would you like to get old in a old folks home in front of and be helped by people you don't know? And a lot of people want to stay in their house. And if these bots can come out in time, that they can allow people to stay in place and die in dignity, but also not be a burden to their family, they're going to go for that all day long. So We got 6 minutes left. Joe, Anthony, where would you like to spend our last 6 minutes before we bounce?
You kept mentioning the. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
The AGI soon, but narrow works better essay.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
let's
talk
go
about
for
it.
it. Go for it. Jump in.
Just a brief thing. I'm very restrictive about what I call AGI. I'm not talking about like super intelligence. I'm not talking about having its own motivations or like thinking things through in the way we do, but just specifically the ability to gain new skills without limit. If it can keep upskilling itself, it can make paper clips for all I care. But if it can keep upskilling, that's kind of the threshold for generalizable at least. And I think we're pretty close to having that upskill potential. And the critical components missing seem to be the catastrophic forgetting problem, that if you try to add new modalities or new problem spaces, it forgets the old stuff. So you need some kind of lifelong learning. And you also need neural to symbolic. And we've seen that kind of with Copilot writing code to match what it's observed. When you can match what you've observed with some kind of symbolic function, that's the kind of abstract reasoning that you're going to need to be able to transfer learning zero shot. So once those two happen, which I think is only a few years away, then we'll have a generalizable intelligence that could keep learning. And I think once we do, we're going to realize it's mostly bloatware. It's probably going to be too much to train.
What do you mean by that?
Nature doesn't make a general intelligence except when the environment is changing rapidly. That's when we evolved big brains, is the last 3 million years of rapid ice age changes, dozens of ice ages. So general intelligence is really about out adapting your competitors. If we make a general intelligence, it's really just going to be faster at adapting than us, which isn't really what we want most of the time. Because if it's out adapting us and we have to then trust it, we're trusting it zero-shotting a problem that we don't know. And I don't want to trust it zero-shotting an important problem. So I'm pretty sure we're going to prefer narrow networks that we're able to train quickly and test for reliability and roll out with tons and tons of instances and inferences fast. That's going to be the real market capture, and it's going to win in war. You're going to prefer 100,000 drones that are all running simple software instead of one super brain, because the super brain thinks it's slow and it's only one brain.
Well, that's a really interesting point. But going back to where you started, it sounds like the ability you're looking for, the key ability, is something self-improving.
Yes,
And
the lifelong learning.
Right. And when you see the self-improving system, which is coincidentally where we open this discussion, and I think some of your ideas kind of hint at that self-improvement, which is why I'm excited to see them developed.
Yes.
But if you saw that self-improving, that would be the hint to you that AGI was going to come very quickly.
Yeah, especially the neural to symbolic. Once it can form abstract reasons why, it's like an equation or code that emulates something.
And then the second part of your point is you don't actually want an AGI so much as you want specialized, well-tested systems that you can put in place and that have an economic benefit as well.
Yeah.
Because we don't necessarily trust something that can out-generalize us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you made the point about warfare, which is equally interesting. If I was in charge of a country and you were in charge of the other country, and you deployed thousands of very specific robots or whatever they are, why wouldn't I deploy thousands of similar robots that had the ability to generalize?
The generalization introduces a lot more overhead in one particular way. There was a paper, it's like a year and a half or 2 years ago, called modal collapse, MODAL. So modal collapse is this weird problem where the more multimodal or the deeper that a network is, the more likely it collapses its learning. So you'll see improvement happening and then it'll collapse and it won't ever recover. And they were studying it and realized that basically what's happening is the network had gotten smart enough to rationalize anything. It could find a way to reinforce its pre-existing world model. Its pre-existing world model would get reinforced no matter what the positive or negative response.
Right.
And so once that happens, you basically have to start over. And we saw that with the GPT-4 leaked training data, is they suffered modal collapse repeatedly. They had to start over and retrain. The bigger the network is, the more general it is, the more that's going to happen, which induces a lag for training, and especially for testing, verification is going to be a lot harder.
Fascinating. We got to pick this one up next time.
We got
Okay, sure.
we got to first of all, like, well worth it, Anthony. Like, well worth. Like, this is like, I'm so glad we had you here. I mean, we both had 36K modems, and it was very tough the first time, but now we have something better. And then second, I'm just like so glad I found your writing. As I'm like stroking my own ego, I'm glad that I showed your writing to Joe, and Joe was like, "This guy's legit. Bring him on." So thank you, Joe. Thank you, Anthony. We're going to link to all your stuff in there. You're going to come back in a few months with more writings, and hopefully we can get some engineers to partner with you so you can start verifying some of your awesome ideas. All right, y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
Peace.
You guys.
Dude.
Bye.